Hello everyone, it is Gail from Ticket to Anywhere, and it is Friday, so you know what that means. It is time for another edition of a Friday Fragment, which is the monthly, weekly, daily, whatever you want to do with it meme, hosted by James over at booksheklub.blogspot.com, in which you take the book you're currently reading or a favorite read and read a little snippet and hopefully get people interested in it. The book I wanted to read is called Hounded by Kevin Hearn. Will be out May 3rd, I believe, but very early May. It's an adult urban fantasy, and I read it on the plane ride home on Monday, and I was cracking up in my seat, and thoroughly enjoyed it, so much so that the moment I finished it, my mother pretty much yanked it out of my hands, and I haven't seen it since. So I cannot read that one for you this week because it is off in Rhode Island and hopefully being read, and so I can, use it next week for a Fragment Friday. But this book was absolutely wonderful. It deals primarily with Irish mythology and the gods and goddesses there. And even if you don't know a lot about Irish mythology, you don't need to, because Kevin Hearn does an awesome job of explaining what all their different roles were. And not only is it about like the Irish myths, but it's about all the myths of gods and goddesses, and I just really love how he weaves everything together, and I've already reviewed it on my blog, so if you kind of scroll downwards, you shall find it. So yeah, after I finished Hounded, I moved on to Ruby Red by Kristen Gear, which regular viewers of this meme vlog, my blog, no, I've already read this for a Friday Fragment, so I'm not going to do it today, but I just had to give it a shout out because if you liked the prologue that I read, then you're going to love the book because the actual story is so much better than what that prologue is. I mean, I really liked the prologue. It had me so intrigued, but the story, I don't want to put this book down, and I really wish I had more time to read it so I wouldn't have to put it down. But yeah, so look for this one. Comes out in May. I forget the exact date. Oh, May 10th is what it says on the back of the book, but I don't know if that has changed or not. So you might want to double check that, but it's May 10th, Henry Holt. Keep an eye out for it if you haven't seen it already from, I don't know, in my mailbox or whatever. Yeah, so then that left me with what am I going to do for Friday Fragment, and so I just went and pulled a random book off my shelf. This is Luminous by Dawn Metcalf, which has an absolutely gorgeous cover. Dawn Metcalf is a local-ish author. She lives in New England, and so I hope to be able to stalk her live in person at one point. This book is coming out end of June 2011, and usually I don't do Friday Fragments so far out, but yeah. The book I wanted isn't here, and I just couldn't really settle on a book, and so I thought, Dawn! I will read part of her book, and then this is probably going to make me want to read this one next, even though it's not out until June, and so then, well, I'll have other issues to deal with. Anyway, so, to the reading, because that is what you're here for, and not to listen to me ramble on for 3 minutes about nothing. So I'm going to read just a little bit from chapter 1. I haven't read this yet, so expect stumbling, mumbling, or whatnot. And yeah, so chapter 1 of Luminous starts with a quote. I believe that myths, like every living thing, are born degenerate. See, like I said, stumbling. I believe that myths, like every living thing, are born, degenerate, and die. I also believe that myths come back to life. Octavio Paz. Consuela wrestled with an armload of jeans, trying to catch the hangers on insufficient hooks. Squeezing into the tiny dressing room, she tugged on the first pair. No good. She pulled them off. Tried on another pair, and a third. Step, step, on. Step, step, off. A 10-minute workout in a 3x3 space. It was as if the room had been specifically designed to make her feel big. Consuela hated shopping for jeans. Made her want to eat a donut. I can sympathize, Consuela. Eventually, she found 2 pairs that weren't too bad. The question was whether they were worth buying or not. Consuela compared price tags. She didn't like the jeans enough to buy both. It was tough to feel good when clothes were made for a size 4 white girls. She felt heavy, unsuccessful, and annoyed. The exact opposite purpose of her coveted shopping therapy break. Screw it. Consuela pulled her t-shirt over her head, unhooked her bra, and posed her herself a few times, half naked in the dressing room mirror. She flashed a smile over her shoulder, perfect white teeth, no cavities. Her smile was her best feature. She spanked her hip, feeling better than she had all morning. Getting dressed, she decided to keep one pair of light denims and hand the rest back with the 2 plastic yellow stick cards. She hung the remaining 11 hooks neatly in her palm for easy counting. The baggy old attendant had glared at her earlier as if she suspected Consuelo of shoplifting. Like she could hide a pair of true religions in her cleavage. She could all but hear her best friend Allison's voice in her head. You know, you probably could. Allison could always make her laugh. Consuelo held her head high as she stopped at the dressing room exit. The old woman lifted her hand dog eyes. Find anything? The woman asked, only because she had to. Yes, thank you. The gnarled, arthritic hands took the jeans as a sudden lurch of vertigo brought Consuelo to her knees. Hangers clattered against the floor, head spinning. Consuelo groaned. Nausea kneaded her throat, and her vision slipped sideways. The 3-way mirror in the corner bent out of shape like clocks in a dolly print. Points of light winked and wobbled like candle flames. Consuelo tried to focus on her reflection and saw surprised eyes looking back. They weren't her own. Dark eyes, wide with urgency, had appeared just inside the glass. Know thyself. It was an electrified sound like synthesized violins given voice. Consuelo blinked. The bizarre image in dull pain shattered. She slapped a hand to her forehead, squinted against sudden needle-stabbed prickles in her eyes. She heard distant voices and felt soft hands touching her back and face. She shrugged them away and felt the wash of cold sweat crawling over her skin. I'm all right, she mumbled, embarrassed and shaken. I'm fine. Several strangers helped Consuelo to sit. Are you sure? See here, did you faint? An employee hurried over. Hang on, I'll get you some juice. The old dressing room attendant remained on her stool behind the press-board podium. She glared down at Consuelo and shook her head. Gotta watch them mirrors, she advised, in a croaky voice. They'll play tricks on you if you're not careful. I see it all the time. The old woman looked away. All the time. Speechless, Consuelo sat numbly on the floor. She drank the small bottle of orange juice, fumbled with her cell phone, and hung up when there was no answer at home. Someone shoved a clipboard at her. Flustered and self-conscious, she dutifully signed the accident report, scribbling her name and forgetting to give back the pen. Consuelo waved off more offers of help and hurried to take her place in the checkout line. Nervously, brushing her hair from her face, folding the jeans over her arm. She didn't even know why she was buying them. Why was she still here? She wanted to pretend that everything was normal, that nothing weird had just happened, and go straight home. She took out her credit card and adjusted a necklace over her collar. She felt the clasp catch. Ouch, she grumbled. Consuelo tried untangling the snarl of gold and fine baby hairs. She rubbed the back of her neck and felt something move. So yes, that is the start of Luminous by Dawn Metcalf, and I don't know about you, but I am totally intrigued, and so hopefully I will get to this one soon. But yeah, it's not out until June, so I might have to hide it on myself. So yeah, that was this edition of Friday Fragment. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you are reading below, and I will see you next week.